Stating the Obvious is where we explore what it really takes to lead with clarity and confidence. That's in business, creativity, and everyday life. I talk with entrepreneurs, coaches, and change makers about the moments that shape their leadership, the mindsets that keep them grounded, and the clarity that helps them move forward when everything feels foggy. My guest today is Melissa Lozoff, an absolute powerhouse of creativity. She spent over 30 years working in film, television, and theater, from Hollywood sets like Days of Our Lives and Young and the Restless, to North Carolina's productions like Unbridled and The Taking of Deborah Logan. She's hosted PBS's Baby Makes 3, and she's the founder of Movie Makers and Studio A Acting Company, and she's the creative mind behind more than 250 short films. In recent years, she has expanded her work into confidence coaching, painting, and her own production company, Magic Mice Productions, which is dedicated to inspiring and empowering stories, and where our podcast is actually hosted. Melissa's one of those rare artists who help other people find their spark. So today, we get to learn how she does it. Melissa, welcome to the podcast. I always call you my producer.
Oh, that's
I
interesting.
don't know if that's real or not. You're the host of this podcast and various videos that I've done. We've done things together.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm actually supposed to call you, but anyway, my producer, everyone.
Hello. I've never heard you call me that before.
Yeah,
So that's interesting.
it seems like a good title.
Yeah. Well, I am a producer of many, many things, so I like that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Then my producer, it's what I've been calling you for years anyway, so.
Okay.
And I think it makes me seem more important, like, oh, he's got a producer. Oh, that's great. Yeah. It's a win-win for everybody.
Okay. Right. I'll embrace.
I would say, tell us a little bit about you. That's such an open question, like
Right.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think maybe let's start talking a little bit about some of how we met in the first place, how we got together. We'd love for people to
Yeah.
hear where your background is and then where that's led now.
Yeah. Well, my background has always been in acting, theater, and film and TV. Mostly in film and TV when I lived in LA.
Yeah.
But when I moved to North Carolina, I started or helped start a theater company called Ghost and Spice, and we would do, 3 shows a year. I think we were together for about 10 years, a decade.
Yeah, it was a good little while.
Yeah. And Geraud was in a play, Prelude to a Kiss.
Yes,
I
that's
think
right.
that's where we first met.
Yes.
And I loved Geraud right away. He just was a brilliant actor, but also just so, I don't know, gracious and kind and supportive and a fellow artist. And I think Geraud and I really connected on our love of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Do you remember we would meet once a month and talk about business?
Get a book.
Get a book.
Read.
Yep.
Yes.
That was when you were in business school.
That's right.
But I think, I love the fact that we're both artists and both business people.
Yes.
And I really feel lucky that I have both parts of me in that way, because sometimes you meet these amazing artists, but they can't organize themselves enough to make money at it.
I have a friend, actually a cousin of mine. He is one of the greatest artists that I have ever seen. If you like art stacked in someone's basement, it is just there. There's no shows, no events. Usually he will date someone and they will say, "Oh my God," and they will mark it for him. And then when he's between people, they're just stuck there. He just doesn't do really anything with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I feel lucky that, that we have, and maybe that comes at the expense of not being as brilliant of an artist. I don't know. But I embrace the fact that I have both sides, and that I think that can be, for the most part, that is extremely helpful. Yeah. But I was just talking with someone the other day, Geraud's an amazing painter. I am not. I'm a fun artist, and I did it for a hobby.
Great.
But it's fun. But even that, I turned into how do I make money from it?
Yeah.
I started making money, and I'm not even an artist, but it's always part of my brain is oh, someone likes this. How do I turn that into making money?
Yeah.
I can't do one without the other.
No, I feel the same way. It can be annoying sometimes. I think I
Yeah.
got together with a group and we were just doing fun little videos. Our little group was called No Love for Mama.
Oh,
And we just did things and it was fun. And I was like, all right, we got to monetize this. And everyone was like, no, we don't. This is just fun. We just want to put them on YouTube. It's like, yeah, but what are we, hobos? Let's do this thing. It's
yeah,
there, you know?
yeah,
So yeah, I'm with you. You can turn a lot of those things into something.
yeah. And I think that part depends on how you approach it, but that part can be fun too.
Yes,
Like, I think you and I share that love of like, now how do we turn it into making money in the end? That part is also fun. And that part is also an art form,
it
right?
100%
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
No, I love that. That's great. I remember those meetings that we used to do, the Waffle House.
Yes, the Waffle
So
House. Yeah.
plug to the Waffle House, one of the greatest restaurants ever in the history of mankind.
I don't know if I
Um,
go that far, but yeah. Okay. But we had fun.
we had a blast.
Yeah.
It was great. In fact, that's where
Yeah.
I met Joey at a Waffle House.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
That's right.
so that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Great. How did you move from that to actual getting into your own
Yeah.
entrepreneurial journey, I suppose?
Yeah, it was I've always kind of trusted my gut,
Hmm.
and I've also never really second guessed myself too much. I think ignorance is bliss has helped me
Oh,
a lot,
100%.
right?
You're probably the person that doesn't proofread your, like, in school, you didn't proofread tests or
I don't know if
papers.
I did or not, but I think like going like pursuing dreams, if I decided so this was me like as a kid, I'm gonna go to like I grew up in a small town in Canada. I'm gonna move to LA and be an actor.
Huh?
I didn't know what that meant. I did know, like on the other side of that, I did know that I could work hard. I
Yes,
did
yeah,
know that no matter what, I could work at a restaurant or two or three jobs as long as I got to pursue the thing I wanted, right? So I knew
yes.
hard work. That's important. That's key
Yep.
to following your dreams. But I didn't know how hard that was, how crazy that was. It just like didn't matter. I was like, I know how to make a living. I know how to
Mhm.
get by and pay my bills. So then I can do whatever else I want to do, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so I jumped into LA and doing that for a decade. And I was more successful than I probably could have been, but partly because I didn't have the fear because I didn't know better. I was like, of
Yes.
course I can do this, you know?
That's I think a big part of it. People keep
Yeah.
asking me, "Oh, you drum and sing while you drum? How do you do that?" It's because nobody told me that you couldn't. You
Right.
know, Phil Collins does it. I don't know who that guy is, right? Like if he could do it, I
Right.
just assume that's what drummers do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think the ignorance is a huge part of it.
Yeah, ignorance and the ability to work hard. And I think so I take that into when I moved to North Carolina was a new phase of my life and I didn't know what I wanted to do and then but I knew I still loved acting. I knew I loved filmmaking
Yeah.
and but I didn't know a lot of others. I knew acting and directing. I didn't and a little bit of writing. I didn't know how to film. I didn't know how to edit, but I was like, I can learn anything I want to learn,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But, this idea of like, I like kids and I like filmmaking. Hey, and I was driving the car one day. I was like, hey, what if I started making films with kids? And no one was around. Like, I didn't mention this to my husband. I didn't mention this to anybody because I didn't want anybody to tell me, are you insane?
Yeah. Oh
Because
my
they would
God.
have.
Never do anything with kids or animals.
Exactly. Like, you don't know how to, like, you're an actor. You were trained as an actor and a director. Like, you don't know how to make a film. I didn't go to film school. But I've always had the I don't know, the belief in myself
Yep.
that like I can learn. I'm creative, I can learn. I'll
Yes.
figure it out. And so the ignorance is bliss. And I never went to business school. I didn't write a business. I don't even know what a business plan is. I don't even know if I know what a business plan is now. But I know how to work with kids and I learned how to film and edit and do everything I needed to do. And I started out small. But again, it was my husband used to volunteer a lot. He went away for the summer.
Mhm.
And during that time, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start my business while he's away. So he can't tell me I'm insane. So I did. Like, I turned one of our, like, tiny little studios on our property, like this rundown cabin, turned it into a studio. I made flyers, I, like, figured everything. And I put flyers in mailboxes boxes, which I didn't know was against the law.
I did
Like I
that with
would,
my pet sitting company, and then
yeah,
I got a letter from the post office saying, "Don't do this."
open people's mail.
Yeah,
I didn't know. Again, ignorance is bliss.
yeah.
So I filled up 2 classes, and by the time my husband came back, I was like, "Hey, dude, guess what?" He was like, "What?" It was insane. And it was so, but also, and I was like, we're not going to go in debt. I'm going to start out small. I had like this old camcorder. A week before class started, the camcorder broke.
Of course.
So then I bartered with someone. I said, stick your child in here if I can borrow your camcorder.
Yeah.
And I made it just enough to buy a camcorder for the second class, right? So I did start small, and but I just knew it was a creative idea. I figured also, like, if it fails, it fails. Like, who cares? Like,
Right.
right? I mean, whatever.
I think that's the key part to this too, right? The ability to be okay with failure,
Yeah.
right? And we're not hoping to fail by any means, but I
Right.
think the idea that you're just like, if this doesn't work, I'll do something else. I
Yeah.
watch a lot of people hold on to things that they should have let go of sometimes a very long time ago.
Right.
That whole saying, fail fast, fail often, it's got some issues sometimes, but the idea of just jumping into a thing and trying to do it and knowing that if it doesn't work, there's other ideas. There's not
Yeah.
one business idea floating around out there for everybody. There's a shit ton of stuff that you can do. And so I
Yeah.
love that you had that in mind when you started.
Yeah, I think I didn't think, yeah, I just didn't think ahead. I just thought, well, I'm going to try it. Why not?
Yeah.
And then it kind of built. That was in 2001, and we're going on 24
Yeah.
years, and we're making,
Holy
really good
shit, that's
money.
huge.
I know. Next year is 25 years. It's insane.
Wow.
And things just happen slowly. Someone was like, "Hey, why don't you do summer camps?" I was like, "Summer camps? What are those?" "Okay, I'll do them."
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Like, I think so the jumping in without knowing, being okay with failure, knowing that I'm smart enough to tweak things,
Yep.
and which when you're in a business and running your own business, you also have to change with the times. Like during
Yes.
the pandemic, the amount of creativity to
Oh,
change the model was insane. But like I was like, well, we can do it.
yeah.
We can make a film online. I'll just figure out how,
Right.
you know? So I think the ability of like, I'll just figure out how. And I think the thing behind that is as long as I'm still having fun,
Yes.
not all the time, because all of business,
You can't
doing
always have fun,
taxes,
but
dealing with some parents sometimes, not
yep.
always fun. But I love filmmaking. I love working with kids. It feeds my soul. So as long as that stuff is still happening, I will tweak whatever I have to make it work,
Uh,
you know?
yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's great advice too, right? The ability to tweak, to always be changing. Again, a lot of people just stick to their thing and they don't make any adjustments. And a lot of us were forced to make adjustments during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But all sorts of things happen. New presidents come in, there's a new tax law written, some policy comes into place if you're running a nonprofit that changes the way that you can look, seek
Yeah.
out money. All these little changes happen, and if you just don't pay attention to them, a lot of businesses have failed because a couple little things changed and they just didn't adapt.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we don't care about them anymore, Blockbuster,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Well, yeah, adaptability, flexibility. I think also being humble.
Yeah.
Even after 24 years, sometimes I'll teach a class and I'm like, I did not teach that as well as I should have, or I made these mistakes. I'm not going to do that again. Or
Yeah.
how can I do that better? So even knowing that, like, I know my stuff, I know what I'm doing, but being humble enough to like, can I still do it better? What
Yeah.
can I do differently? And I'll tell you too, the environment of children has changed
Ah,
over the last decade in terms of mental illness,
yeah.
in terms of anxiety, in terms of autism. Like things have changed. And I also think I do well with neurodivergent kids, so I
Yeah.
tend to get more of them. So I've had to adapt in ways that, like a decade ago, it didn't enter my brain,
Right.
But again, I think adaptability, flexibility, being humble has saved me in many, many ways.
This is probably a big part of both brains, the business and creative, right? Because
Yeah.
if you were just going with the creative and the feely, then I could see you easily getting married to some of the things that you were doing in the processes, especially if they were working fine. And I also think that that confidence that you had to say, I can learn anything, that's one brain, but also being able to say, oh, but I can do this thing better. And that humility, sometimes those don't work to like people don't
Hmm.
have both of them. They're either constantly questioning or they're super confident and not making any changes.
Right.
I think it's a gift you should recognize that you have that you can do both of those. I think it's made a big difference for the work that you do.
Yeah. Well, I hope so because I also like it's super important to me to mentor a lot of my teens and tweens um in the in the lessons that I teach, but also in my own behavior. And so I have come back in the past where, I was not in a good space or I said something or I got mad at some stupid thing
Uh-huh.
and I've had to like, dudes, like that, I should not have said that, or I should have done that differently. And I think whatever it is, to be able to own that in front of your students too.
Right.
Um, Even though that can be, I mean, again, humbling, but
And terrifying.
and terrifying, yeah. But usually, like, everybody embraces that. Like, I think it's refreshing for everybody. Or even being in a class and, like, hey guys, I thought this was working. Like, we write a
Yeah.
film. I thought we could do this. You know what? It's not possible.
Yes.
How do we, how do we change this so we can make it work within this time frame or whatever? So I think but I love that. I mean, I just never get bored
Yes.
in my
Absolutely.
work. And I think if I ever did get bored, I would find another business
Yeah.
to start,
Yeah.
you know? And so I've just been lucky that in this work, and I guess being an entrepreneur, you get less bored because you have to wear so many hats,
Right.
right? And I think I enjoy most of the hats, not all of them. That's the key. But it keeps me, and again, too, like if I get bored of teaching a class or doing a class, I'll be like, I'm just not going to teach that anymore.
Right.
Or I'm going to take a couple years off. And what other class could I teach that I've never taught that would bring me joy and other people joy?
Yeah.
It's still also like, I think business people talk about like, what's the need and how do you fill it?
Yep.
And constantly thinking about that, but also like, what can I give expertise in and also have joy in teaching?
The joy matters. There's a
Yeah.
lot of, again, a lot of business ideas, a lot of things
Yeah.
you can do. If you were just in it for the money, you could pick a thing out of a hat and run with it.
Right.
Finding those things and picking through them to find the ones that bring you joy and the things that you're good at, right?
Yeah.
That's the perfect trifecta. I think
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. And I think if it didn't bring me joy, yeah, I just don't think you work as hard. You're not as creative. You're not in the same frame. Like
Yeah.
I would never have lasted as long as it has
No,
without those three things.
no, not even close.
Yeah.
So you have a staff.
Hmm.
When did you hire your first person and how was that?
Yeah. It's funny. I started out so small because I never took out a loan. I didn't even think about that. Um, But I started with bartering, like, hey, if you help me with the younger class, I'll give you the older class for free. So I
Yep.
started out with teenagers and then in the summer when I started summer camps, which I'd never done before and realizing what that could mean. Um, and it took a long time for me to hire a staff for my kids. Like I had a younger and I forced my husband to work in the summer
Uh-huh.
too. Um, but I probably the first summer camp I hired staff for him. It took me a long time to hire staff for myself because I
Ah,
was um probably control,
yeah.
but also money,
Yep.
and I had a ridiculous amount of energy back when.
So you still do.
Yeah, but not as much. I hire a lot more people now to do a lot more things. I mean,
Yep.
I did everything, including all the editing and everything
Oh, heck,
for
nuts.
so long. It was nuts. Again, it was so much fun. It was such a huge learning process. And it was sort of necessary at the beginning because that's how we saved money, put more money into the business, And so over the years, now, in the summer we hire 10 to 12 people,
Right.
plus editors, and this year we finally like raised all of our prices for our employees. So they make, if they're college students, they make over, $20 an hour or more.
Yep.
So our just like payroll is a huge chunk of what we pay now, but it's worth it to me. And most of the people that work for me were kids that were in my classes 10 years ago.
That's
So it's like
huge.
family. So I
Yeah.
love that's the thing too, is yeah, like and then I'm working with people I love and they love to be here and they know the process. And so it's sort of grown. Um, and all these kids come back to me as adults and are like, it this changed my life, or it got me through high school, which was horrible, or like, so there's all these gratifying stories
Yeah.
that are like, yeah, like not only am I making money and enjoying my work, but it's making a difference in so many people's lives. And
Oh,
again, that brings you like it makes you want to do it more, it makes you want to work
yes.
harder, right? Like all of those things.
Oh, every one of my clients that has
Yeah.
said like, "Oh, this has made such a huge difference," or "I'm making more money," or "I feel better," or "This relationship is better." My heart just melts. I'm like, "I must do this forever." Yeah, it's great.
Because it gives you that extra bit of fire to know that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and not only you're making money at it, but yeah, that it's so worth it. It's so
Yeah.
worth the work. Because if you break it down, I think for an entrepreneur, even when you're making money at it and making a living, the amount of energy, brain power, emotion that you're putting into your business way outweighs the money that you make.
Oh
Right?
God,
You know,
yes. Yeah.
like you can never turn it up. That's what I say. Like when people work for other people, I'm like, that is like you can clock in and clock out. Like when you own your own business, there's no out.
Oh no, no.
It's always in your brain. And you're always,
As you're
I'll wake
falling
up in the,
asleep.
yeah, I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh, I could do this.
Yes.
Or, oh, shoot, I should have done this. I didn't, like, but the brain is always going. But again, I feel like all of that stuff is worth it
Yeah.
if you're making a difference and that brings other people joy and you joy. I
Yeah.
think it's got to be both.
I think a big part of this, it sounds like, is that you like to learn. And that might sound like duh, but a lot of people don't like to learn,
Mm.
right? And so it seems like you've said a number of times, "Oh, I don't know how to do that." And then even telling the story, you just brighten like, "Oh, and I started learning how to edit, and I started learning how the summer camps work." And that seems like a big part of it. Has it always been a big part of your life?
Yeah, the funny thing is that I love education. Um and I'm a huge proponent of education, just not always formal education.
Yeah.
So like I went to theater school, I didn't go to college. I didn't
Yeah.
go to university. I don't have a degree in anything.
Yep.
And so sometimes people think, "Oh, well then she doesn't value education." And I value learning and education so much, but I feel like there's not just one way.
Right.
And colleges and universities are fabulous, depending also on what you want to learn.
Yep.
But going to LA, when I really wanted to learn about acting, I actually quit my theater school and went and found, oh my God, the most amazing teacher. She was a private teacher that basically worked with
Ah,
working actors, and she knew so much more than any of those college professors. God bless them.
yeah.
So education is huge for me. I love to learn. It makes you feel like a kid again, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Um, it just has to be it just has to be in the right way where I'm actually learning the things that I need to learn. But I feel like, yeah, you never grow old in some ways if you're continuing to learn. And for me, that's learning the skills I need to have as a business person, but then learning like I'm a huge lover of self-help books because
Oh, yes, we share that.
we we
Love them
did.
so much.
Because I want to always continue to be a better human being,
Yes.
right? And some people think that's cheesy, self-help books, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you read a book and it's super cheese, right?
Yes.
But most of the time you get at least
Or
one kernel.
it had one good chapter and then a
Yes,
bunch of filler.
yes.
Yes.
But if that one chapter has one nugget that helps me be a better human being, I'm like, it's worth it,
Oh,
right?
100%.
And so, yeah, I love to learn about being a better human and advancing myself in that way. And then any education that will help me be a better teacher, a better actor, a better director, a better writer, a better whatever. So education is huge. I just think people need to maybe open their mind up to what education and learning can be.
Yeah,
There's not like one path forward,
absolutely.
and I've had parents say to me like, Can you, I think they thought I had a master's in acting, which I feel like I have more than that. I mean, I have
You
been
get an honorary.
in
Someone will
training.
listen to this and
Yeah.
they'll send one to you.
Yes. I mean, the information I know about acting is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm writing a book about it, but,
Good.
I mean, I know so much, but it's like 20, 30 years of being with the right teachers,
Hmm.
not 4 years in a college,
Right.
right? Um,
And if that's not enjoyable, I know a lot of people that, you know, family, friends' kids who've graduated college and they hated it so much, they're done. Like I know
right.
people that have graduated college and revel in the idea that they're not ever going to read a book again
Oh,
because they were forced to read things they didn't like. And so that's what is associated with it now.
right.
And so, yeah, I think the idea of being able to do these things on your own and find the things that you want to learn in the way that you want to learn,
Yeah.
that's the way to keep it moving forward. So it's awesome.
Well, when I was in LA, and again, I was an actor, but I always, on the side, I would nanny or waitress, but
Hmm.
I've always loved kids. And so I went to Santa Monica College and I took English classes because I love to read, I love literature,
Hmm.
but I also took child development classes, again, just for fun. There wasn't like a specific goal.
Yeah.
And the difference between me and people that were there to get a degree was huge. People get so mad at me because I had so many questions and I was pushing and I wanted answers and I wanted to learn. And of course, they graded on a curve and I would get the highest marks,
Yes.
right? And it would
Yes.
piss them off. But I got it because I wanted to know that information and it was really important to me. And they were there just to memorize, get by. It was so sad to me that sometimes education is just like a means to an end as
Yeah.
opposed to learning something.
Well, the angriest I've ever been when I was in business school, there were two guys sitting behind me. I used to sit in the middle of the class or toward the back, like when I first started, like first semester, because I wanted to see the people. I'm a people person too, so I wanted to see
Right.
all the folks. But quickly, they were between me and the learning. So
Mm,
I slowly would move up toward the front. I remember the two guys were sitting behind me. We had had some exam or whatever. Naturally, I did great. It was right because I care. I'm thinking of you. I'm going to do this for my living.
right.
So tell me all about the stuff. What can I learn from it? And I was really fortunate that our professors, like a lot of colleges and universities, were split between academics and the experienced people. So
Mhm.
I was really fortunate in the people that I liked the most. They're all valid. The ones I liked the most were experiential entrepreneurs and business owners who were coming in to do teaching.
Mm.
And so, two guys behind me, one guy said, "Did you get on the exam?" And one guy said, "Oh, dude, I'm so happy. I got a D." And the other one said, "I got a D minus." So, like, that's really good.
What?
And I want to turn around like, why is that good? But as I listened, really what I got from them,
Right.
I was trying to pay attention, but also I'm fascinated by this exchange that's happening
Yeah.
behind me. They wanted to do as little as possible to
Mm.
pass, so they didn't have to put a lot of work in. So they're like, yeah, I'll just read, I'll get a few of these questions and then move on. That's all they wanted. They just needed the paper. It didn't matter what their grade point. Me, if I didn't get the highest grade point average in school, because it just seems like, isn't that what you're supposed to do? That
Right.
should be fun. Like you're here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people just are trying to rush through it, get it
Yeah.
done.
And I will say like a caveat to that because you and I both love learning but there are sometimes like as an entrepreneur like you do have to learn things you don't give a crap about, right? Because you just have to like
Accounting.
learn. Yeah, I was just gonna say learning QuickBooks. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
And I still don't even understand it completely.
yeah. I am
So
not joining a class for QuickBooks just for the goody
God.
fun of it.
Yeah, so there are those moments where, and that's where I think school is helpful, or working a job you just have to do to make money.
Yeah,
Because if you like, and I always tell my students this, like, they're like, because can I make it as an actor? Can I do this? And I said, you got to ask yourself, can you make it? Can you make a living doing hard work? If the answer is yes, then you get to pursue whatever you want,
right.
right? So when I was a teenager, I worked at KFC cleaning urinals. Like that was god awful.
Awful.
But I went to LA knowing whatever job I get, it's not going to be as bad as the KFC cleaning those urinals, right? So, but that instilling, like, and I try and tell my son this, who deals with a lot of frustration, is like the learning of getting past the frustration, learning something, like even if you don't want to learn it, like that's learning. So so again, like I love most of the stuff that I have created that I get to learn, but there are those moments too where you have to go, okay, this part sucks,
Yeah.
but I still have to do it and craft, like, and I try and craft a creative way to learn it, but you're not going to learn, you're not going to enjoy every single thing you learn,
Right.
right? Like that is part of it. But I think the bigger picture is what matters, that,
I wonder if you see it the same way I do. I have a guess that you do, but if not, I definitely want to hear it.
Sure.
I think that a place where a lot of people fail, we've both talked about how we do what we do because it brings us joy. It is fun. For me, this is one of my core values, and I've talked about it a few times on this podcast. I think one of the things people don't consider is their future self. And
Okay.
so learning QuickBooks, I don't want to do it, but I know that if I get it down, future me is happier and there's
Yeah.
more joy to it. And that I tend to be able to sort of, now we're talking quantum physics, I suppose, but I feel like I get to feel some of future me's
Mhm.
joy and then it's okay. So I get to go through some of those things that are like, I don't want to do this, but I know that if I do it, future me is going to have a blast. And if I don't do it, I'm making it harder for future me.
Mhm.
And that's shitty. I don't want that either. So do you think about,
Yeah, it's something I use in acting, but I think it applies to almost anything, including that, is like if you're an actor. And there's, you get these parts where they're just like you can nail the part, right? And then
yes,
you get this sense of like, oh man, I'm a really good actor. I can do anything. I'm so good.
this
And
is me,
then
I'm Neo in the Matrix.
and then you get a part that's not like you, or that's so different, and or you get stuck. There's some reason you're like, oh my God, I can't act. Like it's just
Uh-huh.
right. And so what I say to people is that, that's just, those require different skills and you have to learn how to, get there. But the process of being really bad at the part first,
Yep.
and it's always those harder roles that will bump you up a level in acting and make you a better actor. But the process, so I have a lot of actors that like push me, I want to be a better actor. And I'm like, but are you ready? Because the
Uh-huh.
process of going from one to the other sucks so bad,
Uh-huh.
and you are not going to enjoy it. But the payoff is so big and wonderful. But there is that process of learning that sucks. And it's like the 20, whatever, some people say like 20 hours, 40 hours of
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Takes that long, takes longer, I think, in acting in some ways. Um,
Definitely.
you know, but in terms of to jump from one to the other. But there's just this, if you want to get better at something or learn something, and it's really hard, is just to embrace the fact that, yes, this sucks right now,
Yes.
but it won't always.
Yep.
And when I master it, the future self, one, is going to feel very proud of getting through that. And two, it's going to be so much easier.
Right.
And, like I am not a technical person, which is hilarious because I do media. Um, but I finally learned Final Cut Pro, right? I spent years editing on Final Cut Pro. And then they just pulled it. They're like, oh no, we're not going to make this anymore.
Now I got it.
Yeah. And then everybody had to switch over to Adobe Premiere.
Yep.
And my learning process going from one to the other, like I dreaded it. I kept old Final Cut Pro like for years because I dreaded learning a brand new system. And the older you get, the harder it is, I think, to switch, right? But I finally had to make, and it sucked. I hate it. And I'm still not as proficient at Adobe as I was at Final Cut.
Yeah.
But at least it's not this abstract, weird system that I'm like, what is this? And how come I can't do it in the same way and
Right.
whatever. Um, but it's those moments of like, okay, Melissa, just sit and put in the hours and learn it. This sucks right now. It will eventually, but eventually you'll be able to edit and enjoy editing again,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I think the acknowledgement and knowing that it is going to suck and it's okay. Like that's part of the process. It's okay if it sucks right now because that's what you have to push through to get to the joy of your future self. Um, and so I think that's the only way to get better at almost anything,
At anything.
right? And I think as an entrepreneur, you have those. Everybody has those struggles in business, and that was like the pandemic. Like what
Ugh.
in the world? But I was so and learning Zoom for me, I was like, are you kidding me? And I have to create a whole play on Zoom, and how are we gonna? But when I figured it out, I was like, oh my
I
God.
forgot about the play on Zoom. Oh my God. Yeah.
So, you know, lots of super cool things come out of a really hard process.
Yeah, sometimes it's a matter of learning that someone did something crazier, right? Like I knew you could do it because right before then I had seen, and I haven't seen the movie,
Mm.
but I saw a snippet of it where I think it's two guys made an entire movie using the backup camera of their car.
Oh, I heard about that. I did not see it, but I heard
Like,
about
you know
it.
what? If someone can do that,
Yeah.
we can do it on Zoom.
Yeah,
Like you start thinking of
exactly.
stuff like that. And
Yeah,
so people doing sort of wild shit out there is motivating to me, but it also makes me go, oh, well, this person did so and so. I can do this thing. And that,
yeah,
I don't think I've ever been the person that is the wildest thing, right? And as
right.
long as I could be the second wildest, I'm not, but I could be the second wildest as long as I know someone ran through the flame 400 yards and went through the other side with a fist pump. And I just got to do 200. I'm like, oh, fuck it. I can do 200 then,
Right.
right? And
Yeah,
so I think that's something that's motivating to me too. But you don't see that if you're not constantly learning and being
right.
exposed to it. You get to hear all the weird shit that people are doing out there. I
Yeah,
think that gives me some confidence. It's like being the fifth person at karaoke. You've got to, you're like, I'm not going to sing karaoke. No, no, just sit here for a moment. After a while, you're like, okay, fuck it. I'll go sing. I got this.
yeah. Well, and I think it's also, and I don't know how that necessarily gets instilled in a person, but whenever someone would say, no, you can't do that, I'd be like, oh yeah, you want to watch me?
Oh,
There was
yes.
always that. And like, even from a young age, like coming from my small town, which had no arts, no drama, hockey, lots of hockey and
Lots of hockey.
basketball.
Yeah.
But I remember people laughing at me when I said I'm moving to LA and I'm going to be an actor, like laughing. Um, it was absurd to them because one, they'd never heard of anyone doing that, but also
And
they
yet
would.
there's a bunch of actors.
I know, but
They exist.
not from Tabor. But anyways, but just also like I had someone say, "Oh, you'll be back," and in
Ugh.
my brain, I was like, "Oh, no, I won't."
Yeah.
Never. I mean, to visit, whatever. But those things, and even the reason I didn't, I started the business when my husband was out of town because I knew he'd say like, "What? You can't do
Yeah.
that. That's crazy."
Yep.
But as soon as he sees it, he's like, "Oh." But there would even be like, I would say, "Okay, I need to create an airplane set. I need to do this," and he'd be like, "You can't do that." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you
Oh.
want to bet?"
Huh.
And so then I would create whatever. So I think there's always this challenge too of like, you didn't go to business school, you can't start a business. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I
Of
bet I
course I
can.
can.
I bet I can.
Yeah,
It could be good and bad.
yeah.
I also have this, but it is sometimes someone will tell me a thing that I was going to do. They're like, oh, you should do this. And mid stride, I will pivot. Well, I don't want to do that. And then I will go somewhere else. It can
Oh,
be, I might take it to the extreme
oh, that's interesting.
sometimes, but I'm getting better
Hmm.
at just figuring out the thing I want. And I wasn't always this way. I remember, so I originally went to school for art.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my professors who thought that they were doing me
Mm,
such a service took
mm-mm.
me aside and said, your art is so good. And I worry because there just aren't that many really successful Black artists. And I just like keep doing it, but figure out something else. And I bought it. Like I bought
Oh
that line.
man,
Oh,
the teachers that have done damage. I
oh
tell you
God.
what.
And I know she wasn't like, hey, get him out of
No,
here. Like
yeah.
her heart was in the right place. And then it took me forever it took someone doing the opposite, me seeing
Mm,
a black artist who was doing incredibly well in Raleigh, great website, talking openly about how much money he made. And I said, "Oh my, how do you do it? Are you
yeah.
the rare black artist that can do it?" And he said, "What? No. Any any artist that I know that has who can paint and has any business sense at all, they're all successful that I know." I was like, "Oh, I got and then
Right.
I immediately built my art career. And then I started selling portraits and doing murals, and it was awesome. At some point, it got lonely painting.
Yeah.
I love it, but I am really social. So, sort of like you, is like,
Yeah.
okay, this is less fun now. It's cool to take the photo shoot. I started loving the photo shoot of the
Mm,
models.
right.
And then 40 to 60 hours just sitting by myself, just painting, wondering what people are up to. So that's one of the reasons that I got out of it and I
That's
started
interesting.
pursuing coaching and mentoring.
Yeah. I wonder how we instill that in people and the younger generation to in the face of you can't do it, there's no one else doing it there, because you're always going to have those people, whether it's from a good place or a bad place, because I do think a lot of teachers think they're helping.
Yes.
And then they say the most terrible things, and
Horrendous
you
things.
hear Kate Winslet like talk about a teacher saying she was too fat and she was not pretty enough to be an ingenue and all, like, and in the face of those horrible things, and you hear Viola Davis say, things that people said to her, like in the face of those things, people saying, "Screw you,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what I want to do." Um, but then there's all those other people that say, "Oh, I guess you're right."
Right.
Like, so what is the difference in us as humans? Like, what I always think about that because I want to try and instill, because it's not like I go back and I'm like, "Oh, I was this super confident. I was shy. I had a lot of
You've told me that.
issues."
That's really weird to think
I
about.
know. I definitely was very shy. And still am a little bit. I can put on a good face, but I'm
Uh-huh.
like not, I'm not as social as you would think I am. I
Yeah, that's
just
a
am,
lie.
yeah, maybe. Um, but like, yeah, I had a lot of self-doubt, but there was also something instilled in me. And I think maybe my parents of like,
Yeah.
you can do what you want to do. Maybe.
I
I
mean,
can't
maybe it's
imagine
just a
them.
matter of it being outbalanced, right?
Yeah,
I was always told, very fortunate, told as a kid, you can do whatever you want, right? Whether it's true or not, but I got
yeah,
told that, oh, be the best. You can be the world's greatest criminal, you can be president of the United States, whatever you want, right? And so
right.
you're like, oh, and so I think when someone tells you the opposite, if you've got enough built up in the bank,
Yeah.
maybe that's the key, But then there's rebellious kids too, so I don't know. Maybe it's just personality.
Yeah, here's the other thing that I question though too is like, also in this day and age, and I had this conversation with my kids too, is that we have flipped in some ways in society to like, you're fabulous at everything, you're special, you're special, you're special.
Yeah,
And so then I had this conversation with my students too, is like, you are absolutely special. Guess what? So is everyone else
right.
here,
Yes.
right? So you have to work harder. Like that doesn't take away how hard you have to work. That doesn't take away the education you have to get. That doesn't, so I feel like we haven't found the balance of really instilling it.
Mhm.
Um, instead, I feel like there's this false bravado that kids have now. Not all of them, but
Yeah.
and then this really lack of self-worth, and like I feel like we swing back and forth and there's somewhere in the middle where you can be humble and understand you need to learn and you're not perfect at everything, but you can work hard, you can go after what you want, and if someone says you can't, then you continue
Yeah.
until you shift or find something else you want to do, right? But
I
I
saw this in some of the summer camps, or I guess the two summer camps. Some of the kids are exactly that. They
yeah,
can't be wrong. It's like no one's ever told them that they were wrong before,
yeah,
and they will fight tooth and nail for a thing that is wrong, but they just
yeah,
can't take that in. So yeah, that's actually a really good point. I I don't know what it would be. If I had an
Yeah.
answer, we would make millions.
Yeah. We'll start another business.
Yeah, we're doing it right now. How do we figure that out? Yeah,
Exactly.
that's great. Speaking of which, I saw one of our students and his father at the gaming store. It was great. So we sat and talked for like 15 minutes. It was very
Oh,
cool.
wow.
Confidence uh, that I got to see from the work that he'd been doing,
Good.
running his own game. So cool. So
Wow, that's great.
yeah,
It's
it
really
was
good.
awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess this is just the question that we grapple with and help people. But I just know a lot of people that have great ideas, um, and yet can't organize either their brain or their lives in a way to follow through,
Yeah.
you know? Um, and so I don't know, figuring out a way, and that's partly what you do in some
Yep.
ways, right? That's what you do. You help people figure that out because and in this day and age, anyone can be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
I mean, anyone, and people are. That is the exciting and also like, oh my God, really? About today's
Yes.
society. That person is making tons of money, whatever, power to them.
Yeah, I find it
Um,
with art. There are artists that, look, no offense, I'm not that vain, but there are artists that I know that aren't, I just don't think they're that good.
yeah.
But I also see they got a backlog of people. I remember the first one that I saw where I was like, wait, very judgy. Like, oh, you have a backlog of people. But also, person put in the work. They were
Yeah.
hustling, they were doing all the stuff they needed to do and learning the thing. And that actually was one of the things that gave me a little bit of hope. Like,
Mm,
oh, okay, all right. Again, if they can do it, I can do it. I just got to
yeah.
go through the things and not get disgruntled about it because some people do. They
Yeah.
just like, oh, like, why even bother then? And then they stop. And
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah, the stopping, I think, one of the things that I've noticed, like when people create something, is the giving up, because there is always that period of time, again, the suckage time, the
Uh-huh.
part that doesn't feel good, the part you have to push through, the part where people are like, this won't work, that sucks, whatever. Because I think everybody has great ideas.
Yes.
I mean, like when you're talking to people, oh, I could do this. And then I know this from writers, they come up with a great writing idea and then they start. And the first part's exciting and fun, but when they hit the hard part, then their brain says to them, oh, what about this idea? Because
Uh-huh.
the brain thinks it's helping, but what it
Yeah.
is doing is distracting.
Yep.
And so then they leave that project, they start a new project until that gets hard. And then the brain says, no, 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 that's actually not a good idea. Try this idea. And then people have started and stopped all of these writing projects without the follow through,
100%.
right? And I think that happens with businesses and everything.
Happens in art. I know that I am in the middle
Yeah,
of a painting and I think, ooh, I know what I want to paint, but I don't. This one has to get finished. Even if it's not for someone yet, I
right.
can't just have a whole bunch of half-finished paintings around,
Good for you.
but I still feel it, or I learn a new technique. Oh, that'll make things different. I want to do that. Can't do it in the middle of this. I'm painting a belly button right now. Like I can't just change the way that I do it.
Yeah.
That'll be the next project.
But that I feel like is one of the most important skills for entrepreneurs. And it's, when I would teach my creative joy classes, like that was like one class specifically was on how to finish creating something, starting something and finishing it, even if it sucks,
Yeah.
and because you have to finish, and your brain has to get used to finishing something before it jumps to the next thing because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
always going to get hard. And if your brain and your body isn't used to pushing through the hard, you're never going to finish.
Yeah.
You're never going to like actually start the business or whatever, whatever the case is. So that, like, I feel like whether that's called grit, whether that's called follow through, like whatever that piece is,
I give people a rule of threes sometimes. Like, things will get hard. And yes, sometimes you should abandon a thing that has no hope. But you're wrong when you think there's no hope. Like, when you hit the first couple of things, that's just something you have to get through. I think every big project, everything that's going on will have three inflection points. So you're like, oh shit, this isn't great, or there's something up. If things keep happening, maybe it is time to abandon a thing, but also it depends on how long it's taking. I'm
yeah,
talking about a year of your life, not 3 months of your life. Like, finish
right.
the book, finish the screenplay, the movie, or whatever, the video
Yeah.
that you're doing, finish that thing. If you're not enjoying your career, start looking start
Right.
looking at another career
Yeah.
before you like get to year 15 and you're just morose and yelling at the kids or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the hard this thing, the sweet spot, the whatever is that like okay, writing a book, like there are going to be aspects of it that you don't like,
Yes,
right? And
absolutely.
but if you push through, I think that's the thing and finish it and then how does that feel
Yep.
as opposed to getting halfway through this is too hard. Oh, I guess I don't like writing. Because
Yeah.
that's not information. That's
Yes.
that's you don't like the hard part. But every career, every art form has that really crappy place that
Yep.
doesn't feel good. So you got to finish it and then figure out how that
I
feels,
see that in
right?
entrepreneurs a lot, and it's
Yeah,
heartbreaking where they try a business and they try and it's terrible. It can't work for whatever reason, and probably a legit reason.
right.
But they think, oh, I'm just a terrible business person. And then they never try again.
Mm,
And they're geniuses at it. And I try to inspire them to know, go for the second one now. Like that one
right,
didn't work. You were, I don't know, trying to sell shoes to swimmers. Like it, don't
right,
do that.
right.
You have more ideas and those ideas can work. And I think that's exactly the case. Sometimes we just have to get through the thing and
Yeah,
finish it,
yeah,
get to that finishing place, and then go on to the next thing with everything that you learned. Because I think you also need to learn some of those lessons,
yeah,
because otherwise you're going to get to the next one and get to that same place again.
yeah. Well, I was going to say that too, is like it's not wasted time because you are learning.
Yeah.
Even if you're learning to push through the hard parts or whatever. But yeah, no matter what you're doing, and even if you fail, if you learn something within that failure, then it's going to make you better the next time. Like it was worth failing at,
Yes.
right? But if you don't ever fail, like if you don't ever finish, you never fail, but you also never learn the things you need to learn to pursue the next thing, whatever that thing is.
Yes.
So, yeah, and so I think the key is like, how do you teach people, some of those skills that are
Yeah.
innate in some people, or at least they were brought up with learning those things, and maybe not so innate in other people. Like how, because I am a believer, and that's the thing I love about my acting book is like everything in it is so practical. I can teach
Mhm.
anyone to act. You give me the worst actor you've ever seen in your
Yeah.
life, I guarantee if they put in the work and they do my practical, like all the practical things I can teach, they will eventually be a really good actor.
Yes.
And so I feel like, I guess I have always the belief of like, you can learn whatever skills you need to learn. Now, that doesn't go for like gymnastics. I'm never going to be, not physically, I'm never going to be able to do those kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but, personality wise, whatever, I guess I really believe that we can figure out how, like we can learn these skills to have more grit, to have more follow through,
Yeah.
to be more confident, whatever the thing
Yep. I
is,
agree
right?
100%.
So, but I think that's the thing that I think about a lot is like how, because again, I work with teenagers and tweens, and I always say like parents are like, do you think they're going to make it as an actor? And I'm like, I don't know, like that doesn't concern me. What concerns me is making them a better actor, but and with life skills.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, if they decide they want acting in their life, great. If they decide they won't, they're going to take all of these skills and be so much more successful because there's so many skills that they learn from acting.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so I'm always trying to figure out like how do we help people, with all these things?
Yeah.
Um,
Sometimes just being in their corner. Sometimes it's a
yeah,
matter of, I know with coaching, sometimes it's just, you can do it.
yeah,
I'm like, I don't know if I can. I'm like, no, no, you can.
yeah,
And sometimes that's the thing that they need.
yeah.
And yeah, that's awesome. My God, our time is
Is it up already?
it is
Oh
it's
my gosh, Gerard and I can talk forever.
forever. I looked down, I was like, holy crap. Okay. God, I love talking to you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I miss our lunches.
Yes.
Business talks.
We have to go back to the Waffle House. We're better
Okay.
than the Waffle House now.
Yeah, we're moving on up to something else. Chili's.
Thank you for tuning in to State the Obvious. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who might find it helpful. You can follow us on Instagram at Stating the Obvious for updates and bonus content, or you can go to my website at lumiere-strategies.com. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing forward.